Hi everyone, welcome to Red Fox Sewing and Crafting, and welcome to my craft room. I'm Joanna. So, I have a new album for you today. This is going to be filled with a lot of flaps, and it's gonna be really easy album to make because it's mainly just flaps. So I have the cover here and we'll start. So the first thing that we're going to do is actually work on the pocket that goes on the inside back cover. For that, you will need a piece that is 8 by 11.5. Gonna grab our scoreboards out and find our scoring tools. Maybe, there it is. And with the 11.5 at the top, we are going to score at 2 and at 7. And then we're going to turn it around so that the 8 inches is at the top, and we're going to score at half and at 7.5. Now you will need your scissors or paper trimmer, or I'm going to be using my X-Acto knife, my craft knife, and you want to cut the outer 4 triangles. Or not triangles, rectangles. The outer 4 rectangles. And make sure that you cut out the score mark while you are doing that. And then you just want to angle the corners of your tabs on the larger side. You want to leave the tab you want to leave the corner of the tab on the short side. I'll show you what I mean in just a second. So, if you look at my pocket, this big section is cut out, and then the tab on this side is mitered. On the other side, which is where our flap is to the pocket, the tab is straight, because this is actually going to be showing once you glue everything together. So we are just going to fold and burnish on all of our score marks that we made. And I am going to be adding some, double-sided adhesive, double-sided tape to my 2 tabs. And for that, I'm going to grab my pencil and kind of slide the front down just a little bit, maybe. There we go. And then make a mark on the 2 tabs. Then when you let go, you don't see the marks. See? Slide down. There are my marks, and then flatten it back out and you don't see them. That way you know where to put your adhesive at and not have it poking out from above the front of the pocket. I have done that, and it is not fun to deal with. So now I'm going to try to get the backing off of my double-sided tape. Maybe. Come on. Okay. Gonna have to get the big tools out. And now we can just glue this to the front. Just like so. And now, before I attach this to the back of my album cover, I want to add some ribbon. Now, if you wanted to, you could put a magnet on here. I did make enough space on the flap to do so. So let me go find some ribbon really quick. So I found the ribbon I want to use, and I'm going to cut I'd say a 30-inch piece. Because then I can turn this around, add some wider double-sided adhesive to the center, just like this. Sure this is lined up on my mat, and then I can find approximately where the center is on my ribbon. And then carefully put this on the tape in the center. And then I'll just put another piece of tape right over that one. And then add a couple more strips on either side. And to make this a little easier on myself to put on my cover, I'm going to tie this closed so I don't have any ribbon in the way. So got my cover here, and you want the flap to be on the outside. And so our pocket is 5 by 7 and our cover is 6 1/4 by 9. So that's 1 inch on the top and bottom and 5/8 on the sides. So I'm going to grab a ruler and put it at 5/8 of an inch. And yes, my stiletto will be very helpful to remove the backing of my tape, but sometimes I'm just too lazy to use it. So I have glue all over the back of my pocket here. And then I'm going to line it up, inch top and bottom, right up against my ruler. And there we have our pocket. And now we can work on the base pages. For those, you will need 3 pieces that are 8 1/2 by 11 3/4. And for each of these, you will be scoring at 1/2 inch, 3/4, and 6 1/4 with the 11 3/4 at the top. So again, that is 1/2 inch, 3/4, and 6 1/4. And for our last piece, 1/2 inch, 3/4, 6 1/4. And then we're just going to fold and burnish on all of our score marks. And with these, you want to try your best to get them as straight as possible. Our pages are all folded and burnished, and now we can put them together. It's really easy. All we're going to do is add glue, and I'm just doing this to the side that doesn't have the two hinges on it, the two short pieces to it. I'm going to add glue to one of the short sides and to the long side. And then we're just going to close it up and burnish it so that it gets really glued well. And I'm getting some glue seepage. That is good. That means it will definitely stick together. Ooh. So there's one of my base pages done. And now we're just going to do it to the other two. So just glue on one side, one short side, and the long side on the side that doesn't have the 1/2 and 1/4 inch tabs. Now it's time to add our base pages to our album. So, yes. Ruler. Our spine is 2.5 or 2 inches. Spine is 2, and height is 9. So we are going to be putting them 1/2 an inch in and then 1/4 inch top and bottom. And I folded 2 of my hinges towards the back, and then one of my hinges is towards the front. And I'll show you how that works. Gonna start with one of the pages with the hinge going towards the back. Add glue to the hinge. And then we are going to attach the hinge to our spine, making sure that it's 1/4 inch top and bottom, just like that. And now we can grab our second page, making sure that it is the right page. There we go. And we're going to take this one and just bump it right next to the first page hinge. Just like so. Then you should have a 1/2 inch left of your spine being exposed. Your last page, again, we want to make sure that the pages are going the right way up. We are putting the hinge towards the front. This page hinge is going to go right on top of the hinge we just put down. You just want to put it on top of the hinge. You don't want to put it over the score mark. So then you have 3 pages that are evenly spaced, and it requires no actual hinge mechanism. And now we can go on to our pages. So we are going to go through all the pieces that we need, like we've done many times before, and then I will go page by page with how to assemble them. Okay, so I believe it goes this way. For the pages, you will need one piece that is 3.5 by 4.5. Let's get this down so that maybe you can see the sizing. 2 pieces that are 4.5 by 9. No. Uh-oh. Did I cut this? I cut this wrong. One moment, please. Okay, so this should be right now. You need 2 pieces that are 4.5 by 10 and 1 piece that is 4.5 by 9. 2 pieces that are 5.5 by 7.5. A piece that is 11 3/8 by 12. You will need 3 pieces that are 2 by 6.5. A piece that is 7.5 by 8. 2 pieces that are 4 by 5.5, and 1 piece that is 4.25 by 6.25. Now we can score all these pieces. Starting with our 3.5 by 4.5, you want the 4.5 inches at the top. And we are going to score at 2 3/4. It's going to be a normal score mark. And then at half. With this one, you want to go lightly, because this is just going to be a measurement marker. So you don't really want it to be really foldable. For the 2 4.5 by 10s and the 1 4.5 by 9, you're going to put the longer measurement at the top, and we're going to score all 3 of them at 4.5. So you want the 9 inches at the top and score at 4.5, and then the 2 10-inch pieces at the top and score at 4.5. For the 2 5.5 by 7.5s, you want the 7.5 inches at the top, and we're going to score both of them at 1/2 inch. Our 11 3/8 by 12. we are going to score. I need my prototype here. We want the 11 3/8 inches at the top first. We're going to score at 1/2 an inch and at 6 inches. And then we want to turn the whole piece so that the 1/2 inch tab is at the bottom. Okay, so my 1/2 inch tab is right here. And now we're going to score this at 8.5. So then it'll look like this. Got a smaller piece here, our larger section here, and then our tab at the left side. Just going to put this over here really quick. Without trying to make a big disaster. Next, we are going to work on our 3 2 by 6.5 inch pieces. And on all 3 of them, we want the 6.5 inches at the top to begin with. We're going to score at 1/2, turn, score at 1/2, turn, and then 1/2. We're going to do that to all 3 of our pieces. For our 7.5 by 8 piece, you want to start with the 7.5 inches at the top, and we're going to score at 1/2 an inch and at 7, and then we're going to rotate it so that the 8 inches that's at the top, and we're going to score it at 4. And I just realized I forgot a piece. Okay. Our missing piece. I even looked at it while I was writing all the measurements down. It's going to be a 1 by 6.5, and we want the 1 inch at the top, and we're just going to score it right down the middle at 1/2 an inch. And then our last pieces. The 4 1/4 by 6 1/4, you will not do anything to that. But the 2 4 by 5.5, you want the 4 inches at the top, and we're going to score both of these at 1/2 an inch. And that is all the pieces for this album. So we're just going to take our pile here, turn it over so that we are starting at the top again. Before we can work on our pages, there are a couple pages that need to be covered in pattern paper. That is going to be page 1, page 4, pages 1 and 4. Those are the 2 pages that you need to cover in pattern paper before we can start working on our pages. Page 1 is going to be the 3.5 by 4.5, the two 4.5 by 10s, and the 4.5 by 9. And we're just going to fold and burnish all these pieces, making sure that with your 3.5 by 4.5, the only score mark that you are actually burnishing is the 2 3/4 inch mark. Because, as I said previously, the 1/2 inch mark on this one is just a placement guide. So we have our pieces folded, and now it's time to put them together. So I have done this in a previous video. I don't remember which one it was, but this is a pretty simple thing to make, if I remember how to do it. Yes, yes. Okay. So on one of your 4.5 by 10s, you have the 4.5 side and the 5.5 side. We are going to be adding glue to the 4.5 side. And then make sure to get it everywhere. You want to grab your other 4.5 by 10, and we are going to place the glued side of our first piece to the outer edge of the second piece on the 5.5 inch side. So we're just going to line up the bottoms and the sides as best as we can, and then just squish it down. And when we fold it back up, we have our 4.5, our 5.5. 4.5 is connected to that one, and then we have our 5.5. Then now, English is hard sometimes. We are going to grab our 9 by 4.5, and we're just going to add glue to one of the sides. Just like this. We're going to grab our second 5.5 inch piece, and we're going to put our 4.5 right on top of the 5.5, just like we did with the first two pieces. So then, if you open it up to the side, we have 5.5, no, we have 4.5, 5.5, 4.5, 5.5, 4.5, 4.5. And that gives you a walking waterfall. Now for our other piece here, we're going to flip this to the back. Well, actually, can't just open it. Open the back piece up. And I'm going to line this up on my mat. And you just want to put glue above the 1/2 inch mark. Just like this. And then we are going to attach it to the bottom of our back 4.5 inch piece. And you just want to line up that faint score mark you made on it, just like that. Then we have a nice little closure for the bottom. And you can do either a magnet or a ribbon. I think I'm going to do, kind of debating. I'm going to do ribbon. And with this one, I'm going to, again, just cut a 30-inch long piece. And I'm going to attach my ribbon to the back of my waterfall the same exact way I did with my pocket. It's crooked, it's crooked. Don't want it crooked. It's still crooked. There, it's better. So our piece is 4.5 by 6 3/4, and our page is 5.5 by 8.5. So I need to do some math here. That is going to be 8.5 minus, what is it again? 6 3/4. 1 3/4 divided by 2. That's 7/8. Sometimes I have had such a long day that my brain just shuts down and can't think. So that is going to be 1/2 inch on the sides and 7/8 on the top and bottom. So I'm going to grab a ruler and flip it around so that the easier side is on my page here. We line up at a full page or full inch. I'm just adding some glue all over the back of my waterfall. Then I'm going to quickly shift this to the top. So the closure. There. There is page 1. Page 2 are going to be our 2 5.5 by 7.5 inch pieces. And we are going to fold and burnish on our score marks. And miter our corners. And I'm going to put some of my double-sided adhesive on this, on my 2 flaps here. And you don't have to. You can use whatever adhesive you like. I just find that the glue helps it be a little bit more maneuverable. So if I shouldn't have done that. I'll just grab a larger scrap. The glue for me helps with repositioning because it's more liquid and it doesn't dry very quickly. And this is what I use. I use Barely Art Glue. And then the double-sided adhesive helps with keeping whatever I put down in place while my glue dries. That is why I use both of them in all my projects. Okay, so getting out the ribbon again, because for this page I want to do another ribbon closure, but this time I'm going to cut 2 12-inch pieces. And I'm going to flip over to page 2 and find where I put my double-sided adhesive. I'm going to take 4 smallish pieces of double-sided tape here, and I'm going to attach my ribbon to the top and bottom of my page. So I'm going to find roughly the center. that's more right center. I'm going to stick down one piece, move the backing, grab one of my ribbon pieces. Let me do it this way. Find the center of my page, and then I could just attach this right to my tape here, and then put a second piece right on top. Then I'm going to flip my book around, and I'm going to do the same thing to the top. Find the center, add my tape, take the backing off, grab my second piece of ribbon, attach it to my page, and then add my last piece of double-sided tape. Now we have 2 ribbon pieces. I am very sorry if you were hearing licking. My dog has decided that it's time for her to clean herself. She is licking her legs, front paws, and it will take her a while to clean them, in her opinion. Okay, so we have our flaps, and we're just going to place them right on top of our ribbon. And I didn't get mine correct, so I just need to set a little bit. That's better. And we can just stick this down and cover that back up so that nothing sticks to it before I'm ready to put my my pattern paper down. Then we're going to do the same thing to the top piece, if I remember where I put my flap. Then this is just going to go right across the top. And there is page 2. All done. Tie this closed. Page 3. For this, you're going to be doing a little bit of cutting. So again, use whatever you're most comfortable with doing this kind of stuff. the first thing that you want to cut out. So I have my piece laid out so that the short, the short, wide rectangles, not triangles, short, wide rectangles are at the bottom. I have my hinge on the left, and then my bigger rectangles towards the top. On the bottom left corner, you have your smaller hinge. You want to cut that out. And make sure to cut out the score mark. And then we're just going to miter that out. Next, we are going to remove the score mark between the left two rectangles beside our hinge. Sorry if I'm getting in the way. Just want to make sure that I'm getting all of my hinge out. And the best way to fully take this out is to fold back both pieces. So fold back both sections just like this, and then you can grab your scissors and cut right next to the edge, just like that. And mine, it'll work. Now we just need to miter the top of our hinge. And then we can fold and burnish. Now, if you close this up, you might notice something. Our small left flap is too big. So what we need to do is trim it a little bit. So I'm just going to grab my paper trimmer here and fold back the top larger section. And we are going to trim off 3/4 of an inch, just like that. And then when we fold everything, it will fit. Be a little shorter than the other one, which is what you want, because you want everything to actually fit really well without smushing anything in. And now Going to add some more double-sided tape to my hinge, and we are going to attach this to our base page. This flap is going to attach to the outer section of your page. So right like that. Then when you open it, let me put my pin in really quick. When you open this flap, it'll open like this. So then you'll have your two larger sections up here and your two smaller sections down here. And we are going to add a magnet closure. So I have my magnets right here. And the way I like to add magnets to an album is like this. Okay. I have all of my pieces, my double-sided tape ready, about the same size as I use with my my ribbons. And going to start on my flap here. Going to put 3 on my flap. And I'm just going to tape them down, trying to get a good angle so that I don't put tape over the edge. I'm gonna remove some of the excess tape. Want it kind of close, but not too close to the edge. And then I'm going to do the other outer edge here, about right there works. And then the center one is just going to kind of go in between, around the center area. Just like that. Just like that. And then I'm going to take 3 more magnets, place them on top of the magnets that are already put down so that I know where they go. Then I'm going to take my other 3 double-sided adhesives, and I have the sticky side going up so that when I put my magnet back down, my double-sided adhesive is sticking to the magnet. Then I can close my flap up like so, making sure that my tape isn't going to go too close to any of the edges on my base page. And then just squish everything down. And if you don't like using double-sided adhesive, you could do this with glue. I would just wait to let the glue dry on the first 3 before you add the second, the pairs to your base page. And there is my magnets. page 4. This is going to require the 3 2x6.5s, and we're just going to fold and burnish on all of the score marks. Now we are going to miter these. So you want to miter the top 2 corners, and then we are going to miter the bottom 2 squares out. So then it'll look like this. And do that to your other 2. To attach these to page 4, we're going to start with one pocket, and this is going to go at the very bottom of our page. I just did an oopsie, but we can work with it. So and if you need to, you can just kind of finagle your pocket a little bit. If you want, you can add some tape across the bottom tab, but they're so short that I don't think that's really necessary, so I'm not going to do it. And then we can glue the 2 side tabs down. And now we are going to go up 1 1/4 inches. So, no, I want to go this way. So I'm just going to lay my ruler at 1 1/4 inches from the top of my first pocket. And then I have my second pocket. Put glue on the bottom tab. And going to place this right along my ruler as best as I possibly can. Just like that. And then 2 side tabs on the second pocket can go down. Oops. And then again, it is going to be 1 1/4 inches from the top of the previous pocket. So I have my ruler in place, and again I'm just going to do my best to line up my pocket to the edge of my ruler. Then we can put the side tabs of our third pocket down. And there is, oh, I might have messed up a little bit, but that's okay. You'll just need to, oh, whoopsie. I did 3/4 of an inch instead of 1 3/4 or 1 1/4, but it'll work. I just originally had it be 1 1/4 spacing between the pockets, but this is perfectly fine. Page 5. You will need your 7.5 by 8 and your 1 by 6.5. For the 1 by 6.5, we're just going to fold and burnish on our score mark. And starting at the score mark, you want to miter it. So that when you open it, you have kind of like an arrow type thing on both sides. So a mountain and a valley. Your point is going to be higher than the sides. That's what you want. For our 7.5 by 8, we're going to be doing a little trimming again. So you'll need whatever tool you like to use. And you want to cut out both of the tabs on just one 4-inch side, along with the score mark. And again, you will want to miter on those sections. And that was my dog shaking herself and her tail banging against stuff on my desk. She's a big puppy, but I love her very dearly. And then we're just going to miter the other 2 corners, and it will look like this. So now we can just fold and burnish on our score marks. And with this, I'm just going to line it up along the edge of my scoreboard so that I can get it as even as possible. And back with my double-sided tape on both my tabs and on both sides of my 1 by 6.5 piece, which is going to be the hinge that helps us attach our pocket to our page. So we're going to attach the hingeless side to our hinges on our pocket flap. Just like so. And then grab our hinge. And we are going to put one side of our hinge on the folded side of our flap pocket. And it's going to be the same size as the flap. So you just want to line up the edges. Just like so. Then we can grab our book, our album, and it's going to go in the center of the outer edge of our page here. So I'm going to grab my larger ruler so that I can use the centering part of it. I'm going to do this as carefully as possible because this is leaning against me and I don't want this to move. And I'm going to place this at the right measurements and attach it. Just like that. If you hear a little pitter-pattering, that's my mom's dog. She is a tiny little thing. And he likes to just roam around everywhere and cause problems. He's part Yorkie. So, where's my other... Huh? Must have melded into my magnet stack here. I got two, but one of them disappeared. So I'm going to just use one magnet pair this time. And just stick these to the inside of my flap and my base page. If you wanted to, you could put it on the front, but it's a pocket, so I might want stuff sticking out of it a little bit more. And I don't, well, you know what? Let's do it. Might cause some issues, but we'll do it this time. This way is a little easier because you could just put the magnet on one side and then put it on the top of the, on top here like that, and then it just kind of sticks together like that. And our last page. That is going to be the 2 4x5.5 and the 4 1/4 by 6 1/4. We are going to fold and burnish and miter our 2 score marks. And then before we can put this together, we need to add pattern paper to the just the outside of our 2 flaps. That's all we need to add. The only place where we need to put pattern paper right now. Going to attach these to the top and the bottom of our page. I need a little bit more glue right here. There we go. So we're going to start with the first flap, which is going to line up with the top and the side of our page. And then the second one is going to line up with the bottom and the side of our page. And now we need to add pattern paper to the inside of, or to our base page here. So I already have a piece ready. Glue that right on top, just like so. And now we want to glue the flaps to the base page on the hinge side. So glue just on the hinge side and stick it down. So then we have a little opening in the center and on the outer side of our page. Now we want our 4 1/4 by 6 1/4 piece. And math is hard. So our page is 8 1/2 inches tall. So that's going to be 1 1/8 on the top and the bottom. And 5 1/2 inches wide. No. By doing math wrong. Okay. 1 1/8 on the top and bottom, and 5/8 on the sides. So line up my ruler in a good enough way so that I don't have any issues when doing this. And then just going to line that up, and this time I'm just going to make a mark, I think. Slightly below and slightly above where I want to put my glue. Then I could just use my light to add some glue. If my glue bottle cooperates with me. So I have glue on the top section and the bottom section. You want to leave the center section glueless because you don't want to glue this to your base page. Then we're just going to line this back up on our flaps along our ruler and stick it down. Now we have a little flap pocket. And that is our album complete. I hope you liked this video. If you did, hit the like button down below. If you want to see more cool albums or other stuff that we do over here, hit subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye!